this video is about. She SAT in the theater, and a millionaire offered her the best seat. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The faint hum of excitement reverberated through the dimly lit theater as patrons murmured and shuffled, their anticipation a palpable energy in the cool evening air. Evelyn Hayes sat in her seat, slightly off to the side of the stage, observing the scene unfold before her. She had always been drawn to the theater, a sanctuary where life transformed into art, where stories came alive, and emotions were laid bare. Dressed in a simple yet elegant navy dress that fell just below her knees, she felt out of place amidst the sea of glamorous patrons. Her long chestnut hair cascaded over her shoulders in soft waves, framing a heart-shaped face accented by high cheekbones and inquisitive hazel eyes. She was a modest woman, a recent graduate with an uncertain future, yet the flicker of ambition burned brightly within her. As she sat there, her fingers nervously toyed with the edges of her program, which detailed the evening's performance. She had scraped together enough money for a ticket, eager to see the acclaimed production of The Last Note, a tale woven with intense love and heartbreak. It was a story that resonated deeply with her own life experiences, igniting memories of a long-lost love that still lingered in the corners of her heart. Just as the lights dimmed, a figure appeared in her periphery, looming tall and striking. She turned her head slightly, her gaze falling upon a man clad in a tailored charcoal suit that hugged his athletic frame. His hair was dark and meticulously styled, complementing the sharp angles of his jaw. He had a presence that commanded attention, a quiet confidence that felt almost magnetic. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth like aged whiskey. "Is this seat taken?" Evelyn blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the intensity of his gaze, which seemed to pierce through the dim light. "And no, it's not," she stammered, the flutter in her stomach surprising her. He slid past her, close enough that she could catch a whiff of his cologne, a rich, woody scent that stirred something deep within her. As he settled into the seat beside her, she could see the glint of a silver watch peeking out from under his crisp shirt cuff, a detail that felt extravagant yet effortlessly cool. "I'm Alex," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "Evelyn," she replied, shaking his hand briefly. His grip was firm, warm, and it sent an unexpected jolt through her. "Pleasure to meet you, Evelyn." He turned his attention to the stage as the lights dimmed further, the orchestra tuning up at the proscenium. She felt a rush of warmth flutter through her, a strange mix of intrigue and nervous excitement. As the overture began, Evelyn's heart raced, not only from the beautiful music that filled the room but also from the awareness of Alex seated beside her. She stole glances at him, noticing the way he leaned forward slightly, entirely engrossed in the performance. He radiated an energy that made the air around them crackle, and part of her couldn't help but wonder how a man like him could be drawn to such a humble gathering. "Do you come here often?" he asked, breaking the silence, his gaze still fixed on the stage. "Not really," she admitted, her voice a whisper as if they were sharing a secret. "This is actually my first time seeing a production here." "Ah, a true debutante," he teased, a playful glimmer in his eye. "I should have expected as much. I can already tell you have a taste for the extraordinary." Evelyn felt her cheeks flush at the compliment, a feeling both flattering and embarrassing. "I just really love theater. It has a way of making you feel alive." He turned to her then, his expression softening. "I completely agree. There's something about stories that can touch our souls, isn't there? Like they breathe life into our own experiences." He spoke with such earnestness that she found herself leaning in closer, drawn by the authenticity that radiated from him. "Exactly. It's like they remind us of what it means to be human, she replied, her heart thumping in her chest. The performance commenced, and they both fell into the world unfolding before them. The actors danced across the stage, their voices weaving a tapestry of hope and despair. Every line, every note, resonated within Evelyn as memories swirled around her. The laughter shared with her college friends, the bittersweet taste of her first love, and the heartache of dreams deferred. Midway through the first act, a moment in the play struck Evelyn particularly hard, and she felt herself lean back into her seat, tears brimming in her eyes. She didn't want to cry in front of this stranger, but the emotions were raw and uncontrollable. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed Alex glance her way, concern flickering in his gaze. "Are you all right?" he whispered, his voice low enough to not disturb the audience. She quickly wiped her eyes, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, just a little caught up in the story, I guess." "Good stories have that effect," he replied, his tone comforting, as if he understood the weight of what she was feeling. "If you ever need to talk about it, I'm here." Her heart swelled at the offer, the sincerity in his voice igniting a flicker of hope within her. "Thank you, that's very kind of you." When the lights dimmed again for intermission, the tension in the air shifted. Alex turned to her fully, a teasing smile dancing on his lips. "I'd say you deserve the best seat in the house, but it seems you're already sitting next to it." Evelyn chuckled, the sound light and nervous. "Are you always this charming?" "Only when the situation demands it," he teased back, his eyes dancing with mischief. The chemistry between them crackled, a connection that felt both immediate and profound. They stood, stretching their legs as the crowd ventured into the lobby for refreshments. Alex looked at her, his expression filled with genuine interest. "What drew you to this production in particular?" Evelyn hesitated, contemplating the intimate nature of her response. "The themes of love and loss resonate with me. I think everyone has experienced that at some point in their lives, right?" He nodded solemnly, a flicker of understanding passing between them. "Indeed. We often run from those feelings, but they're part of what makes us whole." "That's a beautiful way to put it," she replied, surprised by the depth of their conversation. She wondered if he often shared such thoughts with strangers, or if there was something unique about their connection. Alex cleared his throat, his expression shifting slightly as if he were weighing his words. "You know, there's an after-party for this show. It's a small gathering, but I have an extra invitation. Would you like to join? It might be a fun way to continue our conversation." The offer startled her, and she felt a rush of excitement and apprehension. "You want me to go with you?" He shrugged, the corners of his mouth lifting. "Unless you have plans to run off and, I don't know, study the fine art of knitting or something." Evelyn laughed, surprised by his playful demeanor. "No knitting plans tonight, I assure you, but an after-party sounds a bit intimidating." "Or exhilarating," he countered, his eyes sparkling with challenge. "Besides, you might just end up with the best seat at the most interesting table in the room." She hesitated, weighing her options. The thought of mingling with wealthy patrons and artists both thrilled and terrified her. But the connection she felt with Alex tugged at her heart, a gentle nudge urging her to embrace the unexpected. "All right," she said, forcing her nerves to settle. "I'd love to join you." "Fantastic," he said, his smile widening. "Let's make this night unforgettable." As the lights flickered back on, signaling the end of intermission, Evelyn felt a swell of hope. Maybe tonight would be a turning point, a moment that would carve new paths in her life and remind her that sometimes the best stories unfolded in the most unexpected places. As the lights dimmed again and the performance resumed, Evelyn found herself grateful for the reprieve of intermission. The emotions she had felt during the first act still lingered, but now they were mingled with an exhilarating anticipation. She could hardly concentrate on the story unfolding on stage as her thoughts oscillated between the performance and Alex, the millionaire who had so unexpectedly entered her life. He leaned in slightly as the actors resumed their roles, his shoulder brushing against hers, an innocent touch that sent a shiver down her spine. She could feel his warmth radiating toward her, an intoxicating blend of confidence and vulnerability. "Do you believe in fate?" he whispered suddenly, breaking the silence yet again, his voice barely audible over the swelling orchestration. Evelyn turned to him, intrigued. "Fate? That's a heavy question for an opening night, don't you think?" "Perhaps," he replied with a wry smile, "but I can't shake the feeling that we were meant to sit next to each other tonight, like the universe conspired to make this moment happen." She chuckled softly, letting the idea take root in her mind. "I suppose it's possible, or maybe you just have a knack for slipping into the best seats. Or maybe I'm just lucky," he countered, holding her gaze. The sight of those dark, expressive eyes made her heart race again. "But luck can change the course of a life, don't you think? Just like the choices we make." The performance continued, but Evelyn couldn't help but reflect on his words. She thought about her own life, filled with choices that had led her to this theater, to this moment with him. Fear and ambition danced within her, and for the first time in a long while, she could breathe without feeling the weight of expectations crushing down on her. As the last notes of the first act faded into silence, the audience erupted into applause, and Evelyn found herself clapping alongside them, though her thoughts remained entangled with Alex's. When the lights dimmed yet again, she turned to him, her heart pounding. "What would you say has been your most significant choice?" He was quiet for a moment, as if considering the depth of her question. "There are many I could point to," he started, his gaze drifting to the stage. "But I think the most important was choosing to take risks, leaving the family business to chase my own dreams. It's not easy when everyone expects you to follow a certain path, but I knew I had to forge my own." "I admire that," she replied, her voice sincere. "It takes courage to step away from the familiar, especially when the stakes are high." He turned back to her, the intensity of his gaze sending heat rushing through her. "What about you? What dreams are you chasing, Evelyn?" Her breath hitched in her throat. She had never shared her aspirations so openly before, but there was something in his eyes that made her feel safe. "I'm hoping to work in theater, maybe as a director one day. I want to create stories that move people, just like this one." He smiled, a warm, genuine smile that seemed to light up his entire face. "I believe you have the talent to do it. I can see the passion in your eyes when you talk about it." Evelyn felt a blush creep up her cheeks and she looked down, fidgeting with her program. "I'm just starting out, really. It's a daunting world and I don't know where to begin." "Everyone has to start somewhere," he reassured her. "Maybe you'll find your path tonight, among the artists and creators at the after-party." The thought sent a thrill through her. Perhaps she would meet someone who could guide her, someone who could help her navigate this world she so desperately wanted to be part of. Before she could dwell on it further, the curtain fell, and the audience erupted into applause once more, the actors bowing before the enraptured crowd. "Let's go," Alex said, standing and offering her his hand. She took it, feeling the warmth of his palm engulf hers as they made their way out of the theater and into the cool night air. The lobby was bustling with energy. Pricey champagne flowed, laughter rang out, and the air was thick with conversation. Evelyn felt a pang of anxiety as they moved toward the gathering, but Alex's confident stride kept her grounded. "Just be yourself," he said softly, leaning closer so she could hear him over the crowd. "You belong here just as much as anyone else." She nodded, trying to absorb his encouragement as they stepped into the heart of the after-party. The space was adorned with delicate twinkling lights and elegant decorations, the atmosphere a blend of glamour and artistry. She spotted familiar faces among the crowd, actors, playwrights, and patrons she had admired from afar. "Have you been to many of these?" she asked Alex, feeling small amidst the celebrity and affluence. "More than I can count," he replied, his voice steady. "But tonight feels different. I wanted to share this with you." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, calming her nerves. "You make it easier to be here," she admitted, glancing around anxiously. "Just stay close to me," he encouraged, a playful glint in his eyes. "I promise to keep any overly enthusiastic theater critics at bay." They mingled, exchanging pleasantries with various guests. But throughout the evening, it was the moments they shared away from the crowd that held the most significance for Evelyn. They found a quiet nook on the balcony overlooking the city, the skyline glimmering like a sea of stars. "I didn't expect the after-party to feel so intimate," Evelyn said, her gaze capturing the beauty of the view. "Intimacy comes from connection, not just proximity," he replied, leaning against the railing beside her. "And I feel a connection with you." Her heart raced at his admission, and she turned to meet his gaze. "I feel it too, but I don't really know why. We're practically strangers." "Strangers with a shared love for stories," he said, his tone earnest. "Maybe that's all it takes to bridge the gap." Evelyn was about to respond when a voice interrupted them. "Alex, there you are." A striking woman approached, her designer dress trailing behind her like a plume of silk. She was beautiful, with an air of confidence that commanded attention. "Leela," Alex greeted her with a polite nod, but Evelyn could sense an immediate tension. "I was just schmoozing with the talent, I see," Leela interrupted, casting a sideways glance at Evelyn. "You always did have an eye for the creatives." Evelyn felt the wind knocked out of her cheeks flushing under Leela's scrutiny. She stepped back slightly, feeling small again as the woman's gaze pierced her. "Oh, I'm just..." Evelyn started to explain, but Alex interjected smoothly. "Evelyn is not just the talent," he replied, a protective edge in his voice. "She's a brilliant aspiring director." The emphasis he placed on her ambition surprised her and sparked a flicker of warmth in her chest. Leela raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting to one of mild amusement. "Then I hope you're ready for the challenges that come with it," Leela said, a hint of condescension in her voice. "It's a tough industry." "I'm aware," Evelyn replied, finding her voice, "but I believe it's worth pursuing." "Good luck with that," Leela said, her smile tight as she turned back to Alex. "Let's grab a drink. You promised to tell me about that new script you've been working on." As the two walked away, Evelyn felt a swirl of emotions. She had been so caught up in the magic of the evening and the connection with Alex, but Leela's presence had punctured that bubble. "Forget her," Alex said, his voice pulling her back into the moment. "She's just a distraction. You're the one I want to talk to." The sincerity in his tone made her heart leap again. "Thank you," she replied, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. "It can be intimidating in a place like this." He stepped closer to her, the space between them shrinking. "You belong here, Evelyn. Never doubt that." Evelyn met his gaze, feeling the magnetic pull between them. "What if it's just a fleeting moment?" she whispered, uncertainty creeping into her voice. "Then let's make the most of it," he replied, his tone soft yet resolute. "Tonight is ours. Who knows where it might lead?" And as they stood there, surrounded by the shimmering backdrop of the city, they both knew that this night would linger in their minds long after the curtain fell, a prologue to a story yet unwritten. Evelyn took a deep breath, her heart racing as the city lights twinkled like distant stars against the velvet night. The hum of laughter and clinking glasses swirled around her, but her attention was solely on Alex, who stood close enough for her to feel his warmth radiating toward her. Their earlier conversation felt like a delicate thread woven into the fabric of the night, and she was torn between the thrill of connection and the nagging doubts that crept in like shadows. "Do you ever think about how one night can change everything?" she asked, her voice barely rising above the ambient noise. It felt like the kind of question that held the weight of their surroundings, an exploration of possibilities. Alex turned to her, his dark eyes glinting with sincerity. "All the time. Each moment, each choice, has the potential to alter the course of our lives. I remember one night, years ago, when I decided to attend a small gallery opening. It led me to a partnership that changed everything for my career." "What was it like?" Evelyn asked, genuinely intrigued. "The moment you realized it was the right choice." He leaned against the railing, the city sprawling out behind him. "It was surreal. I felt this electric energy in the air, like the world had aligned. I had a conversation with an artist about his work. Something about it sparked something in me. I left that night feeling inspired, and it set me on a path I never anticipated." Evelyn chewed on her lip, considering his words. "I wish I could find that kind of spark. I've been chasing my dreams for so long, and it sometimes feels like I'm just wandering in circles." "Maybe you're searching for something that's already inside you," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "You have a vision, Evelyn. You just need to trust yourself enough to follow it." His encouragement struck a chord deep within her. "It's hard sometimes," she admitted, her vulnerability seeping through. "There are so many expectations, so much pressure, and then you meet someone like Lila, and it makes you wonder if you're strong enough to stand your ground." "Lila doesn't define you," he said firmly, his expression intense. "You're more than her. You have a fire in you that's rare. It's what drew me to you in the first place." His words ignited a warmth in her chest, dispelling the chill of doubt that had recently settled over her. "Thank you," she replied, her voice steadying. "You have no idea how much that means to me." "Maybe I do, just a little," he said with a hint of playfulness, the corners of his mouth curling into that familiar, charming smile. "Or maybe I'm just a hopeless romantic who believes in the power of storytelling. You're destined to create your own narrative, Evelyn. All it takes is a little courage." "Courage," she echoed, letting the word linger. "It's strange how something so simple can feel so monumental. It's one of the hardest things to summon, but it's often the smallest steps that lead to the most significant changes," he said, his voice dropping to an intimate tone. "Like standing here with me tonight." She looked up at him, the distance between them feeling charged with unspoken emotions. "You make it sound easy," she teased softly, a playful glimmer in her eyes. "I'm just good at talking," he replied with a wink, "but I promise you the journey is worth it." As if to punctuate his sentiment, the crowd swelled with laughter and applause from inside the gallery, where a new round of performances had begun. The sound reached them, a cascade of excitement and artistry, prompting Evelyn to glance back at the gathering. "I didn't realize how much I needed this," she confessed, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for inviting me, for pushing me to step outside my comfort zone." "Trust me, the pleasure is all mine," he said, a hint of mischief in his tone. "And let's be honest, I was just as curious about you as you were about me." "Curiosity isn't a bad thing," she replied, an unexpected warmth blooming within her. "It's a trait that can lead to incredible discoveries. Like discovering what's behind that beautiful smile of yours." He teased, a playful glint in his eyes. Evelyn felt her cheeks flush at his words, and she glanced down, suddenly shy. "Well, I suppose I'd have to share the story behind it," she replied, her heart racing. "Then I'm all ears," he said, leaning in a little closer. "Tell me about a moment that made you smile the hardest." She bit her lip, a hint of laughter bubbling up. "There was this time in college. I was rehearsing for a production, my first lead role. I was terrified but excited. I had this ridiculous costume that included a bright yellow wig that was so big, I felt like I was wearing a cloud. I walked on stage, and right in the middle of my big scene, a gust of wind blew the wig off my head. The entire audience erupted in laughter, and I stood there, frozen, trying to think of a way to salvage it. Alex chuckled, clearly amused. "What did you do?" "I just rolled with it. I bent down, picked up the wig, and put it back on, saying something like, 'Well, at least my hair is still fabulous.'" She laughed at the memory, the joy washing over her. "It turned into my best performance." "That's incredible," he said, his laughter mingling with hers. "And it's a testament to your spirit. You didn't let a small setback define the moment. You turned it into something memorable." "I've learned that life is often about how you respond to the unexpected," she said, the truth of her journey shining through. "And that night taught me to embrace the chaos, no matter how dramatic." "Embracing chaos seems to be a theme in your life," he remarked, his voice low and engaging. "But I think it's because you're meant for great things, Evelyn. You have the ability to weave your experiences into something beautiful." The sincerity in his voice overwhelmed her, and she felt tears prick her eyes. "You really believe that?" she asked, her voice soft and vulnerable. "I do," he replied, the warmth of his gaze steadying her. "And I think you're more capable than you realize." Evelyn took a moment to process his words, letting them sink deep into her heart. It was rare to hear someone speak with such conviction about her potential. "You're making me believe it," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "Good," he said, his tone gentle yet firm, "because you deserve to believe in yourself." Just then, a commotion erupted from the crowd below, and a ripple of excitement surged. "Do you hear that?" Alex asked, glancing back toward the gathering. "It seems like something's happening." Curiosity piqued, Evelyn leaned over the railing, her eyes scanning the crowd. "What do you think it is?" "I think some of the performers are about to do an encore," he said, his voice filled with anticipation. "Let's check it out." They made their way back inside, the atmosphere alive with energy. The stage was set for an impromptu performance, the spotlight illuminating a young actress who had captivated Evelyn during the earlier acts. The audience quieted, anticipation hanging thick in the air. As the performance unfolded, Evelyn found herself completely engrossed, the actress pouring her heart into each line, her emotion palpable. It was breathtaking, and she could feel tears stream down her cheeks as she connected with the raw vulnerability displayed on stage. "Why do I feel like I've known her story forever?" Evelyn whispered to Alex, her voice thick with emotion. "Because it mirrors your own," he replied, his voice low and comforting. "Art has a way of revealing our truths." Evelyn nodded, her heart swelling with a sense of belonging. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and artistry, she felt alive. And as the performance concluded and the applause erupted, she turned to Alex, a spark of excitement igniting between them. "Let's dance," he suggested suddenly, a mischievous smile spreading across his face. "Dance?" She raised an eyebrow, caught off guard but exhilarated by the idea. "Why not? The night is young and we're surrounded by creativity. It's practically begging for it," he said, his eyes glimmering with challenge. Evelyn bit her lip, weighing her options. "All right, but you better not step on my toes." "Deal," he said, taking her hand and leading her toward a quiet corner where the music played softly, a gentle melody wrapping around them. As they began to sway, their bodies moving in sync, the room faded away. The world outside ceased to exist, and all that mattered was the connection they shared. Evelyn looked up at him, feeling weightless, and in that moment her heart spoke a truth she had long suppressed. "Thank you for tonight. For everything," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the music. "You don't have to thank me," he replied, his voice low and sincere. "You brought the magic tonight." And as they danced, She felt a flicker of something deeper blooming between them, a promise of what could be, a bond forged in the art of. The soft glow of the dimmed lights wrapped around Evelyn and Alex as they swayed in their own world, cocooned in the gentle rhythm of the music. The distant laughter of guests mingled with the enchanting notes that filled the air, creating a tapestry of sound that only deepened their connection. With every subtle shift, Evelyn found herself lost in the nuances of this shared moment. It was as if the universe had conspired to cradle them in an intimate embrace. The warmth of Alex's hand clasping hers felt electric, igniting a spark that sent tingles coursing through her veins. "Do you always dance like this?" she teased, her voice light, trying to mask the fluttering of her heart. "Only with the most captivating women," he replied, his gaze locked onto hers, unwavering and intense. "And lucky for me, I've found one tonight." Evelyn laughed softly, the sound mingling with the music. "Flattery will get you everywhere, you know." "Good to know," he said with a playful smirk, pulling her a fraction closer as they twirled beneath a canopy of twinkling lights. She could see the way the light danced in his eyes, reflecting the energy of the evening, and it made her heart race uncontrollably. "But I'm not just trying to win points here. I genuinely believe it." "Is that so?" she replied, arching an eyebrow. "You must have a very high standard for captivating women then." He chuckled, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through her. "I do actually, but you've exceeded my expectations." Their playful banter flowed effortlessly, each word layered with an unspoken tension that hovered between them like the flickering lights above. Evelyn could feel it, the chemistry igniting with each beat of the song, the rhythm of their movements synchronizing seamlessly. As she gazed into his dark, expressive eyes, the world around them faded, leaving only the two of them amidst the swirling chaos of the party. "Tell me about your dreams, Evelyn," Alex said suddenly, his voice dropping to a husky whisper, the intimacy of the moment thickening like fog around them. "What do you see when you think about your future?" She hesitated, the question rippling through her thoughts. "I see a world where I'm not just a spectator but a creator. I want to breathe life into stories that leave an imprint on people's hearts, something that resonates beyond the stage." Alex's expression softened, and his gaze was steady as he absorbed her words. "It sounds like you're already on that path. You know what you want." "Sometimes I wonder if I'm chasing a dream that's too big," she confessed, feeling the vulnerability seep through her defenses. "It's easy to get lost in the noise, the expectations, the competition, even the fear of failure." "Fear can be paralyzing," he agreed, his voice earnest. "But remember, every great story has its conflicts. It's how the characters confront those challenges that makes them compelling. You have the heart of a storyteller, and you're meant to share it." His belief in her was like a warm blanket against the chill of her insecurities. "You really think so?" she asked, feeling the warmth of his compliment wrap around her like a protective shield. "I know so," he replied, his tone unwavering. "You have a voice that deserves to be heard, Evelyn. Don't let anyone or anything silence it." In that moment, the weight of his words settled deep within her, and she felt a rush of gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, feeling the intensity of her emotions surge. "You have no idea how much that means to me." "Maybe I do," he said, his voice dropping to a softer cadence. "Because I see that same fire in myself. It's what drives me to create, to take risks." She searched his eyes, wanting to dive deeper into the story behind them. "What about you, Alex? What's your story? What drives you?" He paused, his expression contemplative. "I come from a world where success is often measured by wealth and status. I inherited a fortune and a company that was passed down through generations. But I realized that I was living someone else's dream and not my own." "What did you do then?" she asked, intrigued. "I took a leap. I decided to leave it all behind to pursue what truly mattered to me: art, culture, the human experience, he explained, his voice growing passionate. It wasn't easy. I faced skepticism, judgment, even ridicule. But the moment I stepped into that world, it felt like coming home. Evelyn's heart swelled again, not just for his courage, but for the realization that they shared a similar journey, albeit in different realms. "I admire that," she said sincerely. "It takes strength to choose your own path, especially when the pressure to conform is so strong." "Strength is often born from vulnerability," he replied, his gaze piercing yet soft. "And you, Evelyn, are braver than you believe." Their conversation flowed effortlessly, punctuated by laughter and insightful musings. But as the night wore on, the ambience shifted, wrapping them in a blanket of uncertainty. The music faded to a gentle hum, and the noise of the crowd felt distant as they stood there, breathless, the moment stretching out like an uncharted landscape before them. "Do you believe in love at first sight?" Alex asked, breaking the silence that had enveloped them. Her heart raced at the abrupt shift, and she felt the heat rise to her cheeks. "That's a bold question," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "Is it?" he countered, his eyes locking onto hers with a magnetic intensity. "I think it's just a recognition of something profound, a connection that runs deeper than the surface." Evelyn's pulse quickened, an unexplainable tension crackling in the air. "I've never really thought about it that way," she admitted. "I guess I always viewed love as something that builds over time, through shared experiences and understanding, not something that happens in a fleeting moment." "Yet here we are," he replied, his tone teasing yet sincere. "Two souls unexpectedly meeting, and I can't shake the feeling that this is something special." Her breath hitched in her throat. Something in his gaze made her heart swell and ache all at once. "You think we were meant to meet?" "Absolutely," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Our stories are intertwined, and I believe we both needed this night to remind us of who we are and who we can be." Evelyn's heart raced, intoxicated by the weight of his words and the electricity that hummed between them. "What if? What if this is just a moment?" she whispered, searching his eyes for answers. "What if tomorrow we go back to our normal lives and this connection fades?" "Then we'll make the most of tonight," he replied, his voice soft yet resolute. "Let's savor it, embrace the magic of the moment, and see where it leads us." Before she could respond, he stepped closer, the distance between them narrowing. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, the magnetic pull drawing her in, and she knew that this was no ordinary connection. It felt like an awakening, a reminder that life was meant to be lived boldly, without fear. "Evelyn," he murmured, his voice low and intimate, "I." Suddenly, the lights flickered and the music shifted, breaking the spell that had enveloped them. They both turned toward the stage, where the actress from earlier had returned for an encore, her voice soaring through the air like a siren's call. The audience erupted into applause, the momentary distraction pulling them back into the thrumming atmosphere of the after-party. Evelyn took a step back, attempting to gather herself amidst the swirling emotions. The magic of their exchange lingered in the air, but the reality of the crowd flooded back in, reminding her of the uncertainty that lay ahead. "Let's go watch," Alex suggested, his smile brightening as he gestured toward the stage. "This performance deserves our full attention." As they moved together through the throng of guests, the connection between them pulsed like a living thing, a promise of something more awaiting them beyond the boundaries of that night. Each shared glance and accidental brush of their hands ignited sparks, stirring a longing that felt both thrilling and terrifying. Evelyn couldn't help but wonder what the future held for them, if this moment would linger in their lives, or if it would become a cherished memory, like a fleeting breath of fresh air in a crowded room. But for now, she surrendered to the rhythm of the night, allowing herself to be carried along by the current of possibility and the magnetic charm of the man beside her. As the final notes of the performance filled the air, she felt a new resolve solidifying within her, a determination to embrace whatever story unfolded in the chapters ahead, with Alex at her side, even if it was just for tonight. In the realm of the theater, where countless stories were born, perhaps her own was just beginning, and she was ready to dance her way into the unknown.